welcome to Assembly Calendar. I'm Mike Friesen. And with us for our program today, Assemblyman Tom Alfano. Tom Alfano represents the 21st Assembly District in New York State, an Assembly District that includes parts of Nassau County. We thank you folks all across Long Island for tuning in for our program today. We thank you for joining us, and thank you, Tom Alfano, for being here.
Thanks, Mike.
We also want to thank you folks who are watching us on YouTube. Something new for this program, just getting underway. If you are watching us there now, you already know how to do this, but if you are watching us through what have been normal conditions, you know that now that you can go to YouTube, do a search on Assemblyman Alfano, and you'll be able to find the videotape from this and some past programs there. If you just need to get more of this program and more from Tom Alfano, that's how you're going to be able to do that. So with all that said, we again want to welcome you folks with us. We are talking specifically about the community of Elmont today. We are going to be giving you an overview of a very important piece of legislation that was dealt with here at the state legislature just within the past week or so, having to do with NYRA and some unfortunate news for Belmont Racetrack. We've got community events throughout Elmont that we're going to be looking at today. But Tom Alfano, we start with breaking news, if you will, from just a few days ago about some Super Tuesday, the voting that took place in some of the polling districts in your communities. It was not a good scene for many people that were trying to exercise their franchise to vote.
Exactly. You know, Mike, as you know, we as Americans, voting is a sacred thing. It's something that we take very seriously, and we always encourage people to take advantage of the process, to vote. It's very important. It's fundamental to self-governing democracy that we have here in the United States. Well, on Super Tuesday, the people of Elmont wanted to do that, and they came out by the throngs. We're talking many, many people, thousands of people, citizens, came to the polls to vote in Super Tuesday's primaries. You know, it's pretty exciting, the race between Senator Obama and Senator Clinton, and it brought out thousands of people. The bad thing is the Board of Elections, which runs the voting in Nassau County and throughout New York State, was totally unprepared. And the result was basically disenfranchisement. What happened with the thousands of people, there were only one machine at each of the schools where people can vote for the Democrats, you know, Democratic primary voters, which were by the thousands. So there were long lines. By 9 p.m., they're supposed to close the doors. There were people inside who didn't get to vote until 11 p.m. at night. That's how bad it was. Not to mention probably the hundreds of people who couldn't take waiting on 2-hour lines because they had work commitments, child care commitments, or other commitments, and they didn't actually vote. And that's a tragedy in a democracy like ours. So Senator Dean Skelos and I have called for an investigation. We've advised the Board of Elections in writing, both commissioners, that it's intolerable that people have a right to vote in the United States. And, you know, we fought for the right to vote for everyone. And the fact that because of a bureaucratic snafu at the Board of Elections, something that was foreseeable but not properly acted upon, people were suffering with long lines and actual disenfranchisement.
This was Super Tuesday. The Super Tuesday, when you have such a tightly contested race on the Democratic side in the presidential primaries, it would be hard to believe that there could have been a question about whether or not people were going to be showing up to cast their vote.
Yeah, it was dead wrong. And, you know, let's face it, this presidential election, we anticipate the same thing. We anticipate an overwhelming turnout. We want people to vote. I want every citizen in Elmont to vote. That's why we live in the United States. You have a right to vote. I often tell people that's when I get my report card, on Election Day, you know. We do a lot for the kids, for the schools, and we talk about that a lot, how proud we are. The only way I know how I'm doing objectively is on election night. So we always want a full and total turnout. So I've advised the Board of Elections to be prepared because I expect this particular presidential election to result in an overwhelming turnout of Americans.
Yeah, how ironic in that usually when you and I would sit here and talk about elections and voting in New York State or anywhere in the United States for that matter, we're talking about low turnouts and how you know you want to try to encourage more people to vote. And here's a situation where a lot of people turn out to vote. Some are walking away. Some are being made to wait for hours.
It's wrong. It's wrong, and it has to be corrected. And they're on notice now. They have several months to prepare, and we'll be watching closely.
All right, and we will be waiting to report back as to how that investigation turns out, and we'll be getting an update from Assemblyman Tom Alfano. Now, I mentioned at the top of the program the legislation that was enacted here up in Albany just a week or so ago having to do with extending out the contract of the New York Racing Association. This is an organization that oversees all the racing that goes on at the tracks, the flat tracks, the harness tracks in New York State. This was a very long negotiations. In fact, so long it was protracted. It kept getting extended and extended, the deadline to get this done. Finally gets done last week. A lot of happy people, some unhappy people from the Elmont community.
It is a terrible deal for Floral Park and Elmont and Southwest Nassau County and all of Nassau County. It was just a very bad deal. For something that was going on for months and months of negotiations, the actual bill itself just doesn't reflect, real thought processes or anything, rational. The bottom line is the Elmont and Floral Park and Nassau County, we got shut out, basically. We don't have video lottery terminals in this legislation, which we've always said would be a vehicle for economic development. That's what it's all about, the VLTs. It's about bringing jobs to the Southwest Nassau County, raising tax revenue. It doesn't give us any host community aid. Let's face it, we're the host of Belmont Racetrack, the 21st Assembly District. We should get dollars for that. It increases a lot of traffic problems. It increases police presence. It does a lot. We're getting absolutely nothing in this legislation. And I've, spoken to the governor, and we're going to, Senator Skelos, myself, the other senator from the Elmont community is also in one voice arguing that we need to do better for Elmont and Floral Park and the surrounding community. But this NYRA legislation is horrible.
Horrible is one word for it. And we're going to show you right now some of the other words that Tom Alfano used when he stood up on the Assembly floor as this bill was making its way through the legislature for passage. He had some more in-kind words, and we're going to take a look and listen to some of those right now. We'll be back with more today's edition of Assembly Calendar.
Southwest Nassau County for some 12 years. And in that time, I couldn't help but notice what a horrible neighbor that NYRA has been to Elmont. NYRA has neglected the Elmont community for many, many, many years. So much so that civic leaders, mostly working-class people who have 2 or 3 jobs to afford to live in Nassau County, actually went to Home Depot, wanted to spend their own money on some paint because they wanted to paint the fence that surrounds the perimeter of Belmont Racetrack. And of course they were told no by NYRA, and they weren't able to do it. NYRA has been an abysmal neighbor. There have been so many opportunities for NYRA to support the community, to open its gates to the community for civic activities and for various events that could have been run jointly with the community, and NYRA was not open to any community involvement since I've been in the state legislature. And now, colleagues, we're rewarding NYRA with a 25-year extender now. We're rewarding a NYRA that has several felony convictions to its belt, under its belt, that has a bankruptcy under its belt, and we're telling them to go on and keep functioning and keep working hard. And as my colleague Mr. Barra said, so ably said, that VLTs, which the people of my district, after having had a Senate hearing, having had hundreds of civic activists come and testify, almost to a person, want VLTs at Belmont. Every elected official in Nassau County, from the county executive to the town supervisor, to the county legislators, to the 2 state senators, to the assembly member, want VLTs at Belmont. And yet, we're told when the 3 men in the room got together and they made a decision, no VLTs at Belmont. Why not? Because there's too much competition with Aqueduct? This country was built on competition, ladies and gentlemen. As Mr. Barra pointed out, we have numerous sports facilities. We have numerous activities that are competing head-to-head, and that's what makes for a success in the United States of America. That is a very sad excuse. That is a very sorry excuse. NYRA also had the opportunity to participate in the visioning process that the good people of Elmont wanted them to participate in, to become a better neighbor, to participate more fully in the Elmont and the Southwest Nassau County community. There were over 70 meetings held, Madam Speaker, and NYRA participated in none. The message that they're sending us is they don't care about Elmont, they don't care about Southwest Nassau County, they don't care about being good neighbors. It's a disgrace, it's an embarrassment. I have to go home to my people who are working class people, have 2 or 3 jobs to live in Nassau County, and say, guess what? We failed. Guess what? We weren't able to have